Excuse the mess in the room once again. Always cleaning, always kind of moving from one place to another. Sometimes, as you can see back there, there's a there's a mess. And earlier this week, someone passed, and this person's death has rippled throughout the entire world. And for those of you who know, and there's a lot of you that know, it's Stan Lee. Now, I'm not exactly what people would see and classify as a geek or whatever the term happens to be. Blurred, I made a video a couple days or weeks ago about that, but honestly, I'm a very loose definition of that. But at the same time, Stan Lee has been such a huge influence in the world altogether. My brother Michael, he's an artist, drew all the time. At first, people would say, "Oh, that's cool." Then after a while, they lost interest. And other people who were also artists during the time that he was one, when people lost interest, they just did something else. Oh, I don't get the attention now. I'll get it some other way. Not him. Not Michael. Matter of fact, he was the one that explained to me how comic books are more or less a way for people to not just express themselves, but to be inspired and to aspire to be more. His example was X-Men. The idea that people fear what they do not understand. And for me and him and a few of my other brothers who are actually black, the idea that people hated us before they knew who we were, before they uh, asked our name. People just were like, "Oh, you're different. I don't like you." And the X-Men were just kind of developed in a way that it reflected that kind of fear that humans have of the unknown, of things they don't understand. Michael grew from that. I grew from Michael's teaching. A lot of people did. And all of that started from Stan Lee. If you look back on the movies that a lot of people have watched, there are very few people who don't know who Spider-Man is. There are very few people who don't know who Iron Man is at this point. My favorite hero, and I wish I could show you guys, but it's hung up over there, is a little ornament my mom gave me of Captain America, because she sees the characteristics that Captain America has in me, and sees that Captain America was actually the one hero that drew me into the whole Marvel universe. Now that's Stan Lee's work. Stan Lee as a person, and yes, this is based upon how I see him in movies and interviews and whatnot. He is a pretty chill person. He didn't let it go to his head. Now, I can't say that. Maybe it went too much to his head, but it didn't. It didn't make him bigger. Excelsior was a term that was just kind of like, you're crazy, but that's okay, because it's okay to be a little bit different. You shouldn't fear it. You should try to embrace it, understand it. I read a post one time about someone going, "Why do people get so worked up about people that they don't even know?" I never met Stan Lee. Alan did. Alan Dukes met Stan Lee. That was very impressive, but I never met Stan Lee. No one I really personally know has ever met Stan Lee. But it's not that. I am saddened by his passing because Stan Lee was a great influence to the world. And even me, a guy who wasn't really into that kind of culture, was touched by his work. The idea of a legacy, a legend, is something that lives on beyond you, something that's bigger than you. And Stan Lee created universes that are that teach lessons that show that we as humans, we as people, we as individuals can be better. We can be extraordinary, spectacular, amazing, fantastic, even incredible. It sounds crazy. It does. But crazy works sometimes. And take this from a crazy guy. Sometimes crazy does work. With that being said, thank you guys so much for those who understand the legacy that he has left behind. Thank you guys so much for understanding that it's not just Stan Lee, because he's not just one guy who died and that's it. Please do not allow that to happen. Understand who you are as a person and grow. He found something that he loved and he allowed it to grow. And I'm hoping that if you guys see this video today, you'll do something that you love and allow it to grow. That's his legend. That's the legacy he left behind. Do not fear being different. Do not fear the fact that some people might not understand you. Keep doing what you love. And times will get dark. Marvel had dark times in the sense that they were about to go bankrupt. There was about to be no more Marvel. And they persevered. Realize people's success and mistakes are a lesson for those who are paying attention. Something Michael is always taught me. I did not know Stan Lee, but he inspired me, which is part of the post. He inspired me to know who I was. I did not know who he was, but he inspired me to know me a little bit better. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she mentioned the idea that she always thought I was going to somehow save the world because I was just so optimistic. I was willing to throw myself into the fire while others ran. Like a hero, which I never really classified myself as being. But Stan Lee, he has inspired. He has changed lives without even being directly linked to them. Now, that's not a legacy. I don't know what is. Thank you guys for listening. And with that being said, Stan Lee, rest in peace. Your legacy will live on at the very least through me. And through my brother Michael and all the other people that he has touched. And hopefully I'll be able to touch more. Excelsior is going to be a word that only true believers will understand. Good night, guys. And thank you again.